right away.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Would you all please stand with the pledge? What does it mean saying the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to welcome everyone to the JCSD 1 regular June board meeting. The board always thanks everyone for taking the time out of their busy summer for attending this meeting in person, via streaming, or listening via 307 on the internet. As always, we have a small audience, but I just always like to put in cell phones, conversations, anything that might interrupt proceedings of this meeting. Hope you will have some common courtesy towards that. Roll call, we have some board members who will be late. They were coming, but I know Kristen will not be here due to a family gathering in Michigan. Do we have any public comment? Any? And again, we always welcome public comment. We say that for people watching on streaming. That is our time to listen. So we always welcome any and all public comments during our board meetings. At this time, may I have a motion? Do we have any additions to the agenda? Okay, at this time, do I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Well,
second.
Okay. We have a second, first and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we have no video during July and no principals reports. We will have principal reports, Mr. Oski, during the August meeting.
That is correct.
Okay.
We will have, and we'll have the new improved principals reports with video.
Okay, that'll be great. So at this time, I'd ask Mr. Oski for the superintendent report.
So just real quick, as we know, we are going to be midway through July, which means school is just around the corner. Been super busy up here with it. Excited about what we've been looking forward to as far as our professional development schedule to kick off the year. We have some pretty cool stuff going, but what I really want to emphasize is the work that this front office has put in trying to get our budget where it needs to be, and I'll explain that we were changing numbers at noon today because of different numbers that came in, so we still do not have the 100. So in that, what we're presenting to you tonight is based on our best expectations and estimates based on what we do know, but beyond that, people are working super hard from the tech department to facilities to everything that we are trying to do to get ready for kids. So we keep getting asked the question. So taking a couple weeks off, and for district level people, there's not a couple weeks off. It's actually pretty intense stuff happening. So, and more importantly, what Dave just explained, we didn't go without rainstorms, but there's been some delays due to the weather we've had over the last several months also. So anyway, with that, unless there's questions from you as a board of trustees, I don't have anything other than very grateful for the team that's getting ready for the 23-24 school year.
Any questions for Mr. Oski? Okay, thank you. Our director's report, Mr. Oski, would you like to go first?
Okay, so we will start with facilities.
Big report. Any questions? John and I have been going around. I know fields are looking great. They're looking awesome. I also want to appreciate Summit Church coming, cleaning a bunch of weeds for us. That was kind of nice. They did show up.
They did a lot of painting. They painted that Craig building and at New West.
They didn't pull weeds off.
No, we've been doing a lot of pull, spray them. We've been trying to. It's a huge problem this year, but we're doing the best we can.
But they helped with something.
Yeah, Craig building. They painted the 5th grade wing, right, Craig? And then painted it. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
The air handler is in the building. So little bit of hiccup there. Pretty big mistake, but we made it work.
Is that the one at Meadowlark? Those things are huge.
Yeah, it's a little bigger than the space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bigger
But
than the hole, huh?
we made it work. It's
Okay.
in there. I've asked for that to be on at least by the first month. So the boiler project in KC is going great. The leaks have been addressed. Still waiting on a change order. The plugged fan coil that I have in here. Last Thursday when I was there, they were able to air test it and get air. It's not plugged. But now it's investigating what else is it, why we can't, or what were the reasons. So we won't have to replace the coil at this point. But we're starting to look at, I visit with Jack, with EDA, was presented to you all before. We are getting to end of life of the air handlers in KC.
Getting to what, John?
End of life. We're going to be limping them by for the next couple of years. Pretty big undertaking, and I'll be reporting on that later. We got a pretty big undertaking that's down at the KC school.
Did you mention some options about we could kick them on for 2 years and then upgrade, or just start into the upgrade process? Was there choices coming that you guys have?
Well, it's all going to depend on budget, and I've asked to sit down with Charles, Connie, when the budget stuff gets wrapped up. It's pretty wrapped up in that, if you don't know. But KC has so many issues. It's, we started with boiler plant because that's where the heating starts. Then if we can't move the air, so now we're going to start. Yes, in a perfect world, I'd like to replace all four. If we're going to do it, because I need to do controls at the same time because we have the big system. But air handlers alone right now are just rough budget numbers. Then the roof, I think we can section that, maybe get some component money, get on the component list. But where that main covers the locker rooms, boiler room, that is a section. So we're gonna have some pretty big planning along with that 5-year, 10-year plan I talked about. There's gonna be a revolving. Things keep popping up, like in the work session, we talk about, John keeps coming in with projects. We just keep, and Charles refers to it big enough. So,
John, what's a freeze pump?
freeze pump is right below the units. KC has 4 rooftop units. Right below them in the airspace from the deck to the grid, there's pumps underneath every one of those air handlers. It's pumping that glycol system up through that coil to prevent freeze up.
So they kick on when the temperature gets to a certain.
I run them all the time because if I don't, they start getting gelled up and getting gunk on them. So I've got to keep those pumps moving. I have 2 of them that are shot right now.
Yeah, that's right.
So when I upgrade those or replace those pumps, I can replace what's there right now. When we go to do the air handlers, we just throw that money. So when I put the pumps in the ceiling, I want to make sure they're compatible with the new air handler. There's just a lot of planning and moving parts.
So maybe this is the Charles question and not yours, but it was in your maintenance deal. So we didn't use the ESSER 2 money to help fund the air handling unit at Meadowlark. Is that because we're going to take out maybe maintenance that because we have the money there and we're going to use the ESSER money
So
for other projects?
we did use ESSER 2 funds. We just didn't use all that we had gotten approved for. So with the current situation with cash flow, we did cut it off at about 300,000, which we got approved about 200,000, knowing that we have major maintenance funds that will cover that additional piece. But that's part of what we did with a lot of grants. You'll see as we go through our budget presentation today that we're going to rewrite ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds to stabilize and kind of get what this revenue flow up we would capture. So we did use some of the ESSER funds. The majority, well, if you wanted to take 300,000 and divide that out and get your percentage, but that's kind of where we're at. But we also paid out the lease. Our intention is to pay out the lease for our painting robot and do some different things. So some of that money still towards that. But yes, with John's major maintenance going, they're going to get another 1.3. Is it 1.3, John, or is it 1?
Yeah, right there.
1.3 to 1.4 million dollars in major maintenance this year. That's kind of how it balances.
So ESSER 2 has to be spent, I don't know a better word to use, by this fall, is that correct? When is it? It's September?
So September, but it has to be drawn down by December.
December.
It has to be drawn down. It has to be covered.
Right, yeah.
Plus.
Good point. Numbers. Thank you.
Any other questions for John? Thank you again for all your hard work.
And John, just so you know, I turned the irrigation on for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, the upstairs stuff.
So John,
Of course,
you're
we
not-
started cutting hay, it may start back up. Who knows?
Picked up the punch.
Sure.
I think the only other.
So we have technology here,
Technology.
and then we do have transportation.
If you have anything, busy time for you. How's it working out? Keeping up with everything? Or getting all those Chromebooks ready to rock and roll? Good.
Chris, you had a question. What's a new line display?
That's an interactive display where we can use it to like a TV that you can touch.
On a board or something?
Huh?
Very good, I did.
Touchscreen
I hadn't heard
TVs.
of that. Good one.
Or Netflix in every classroom. Just kidding.
You want kids like old school.
Any other questions for Christy? Christy, thank you for all your hard work that you're doing this summer. This is a busy time. Appreciate it. I think that's our only direct report, am I right?
So
We
we
got
do have
transportation.
we do have
Oh, I'm
transportation
sorry.
for here. If anybody has any questions, we will.
Bill, you have your barbecue the 14th, is that correct?
13th. So this
13th.
Thursday,
Might have been a
What
day
time?
late.
11 to 1, we're going to have a live broadcast. The radio stations are going to be there. We've invited quite a few different people from the community. We're super excited to open house and have all of you come and see what we've been doing and where we're at up there.
Private bus.
Know that you can tour a bus, and there's a possibility that we could have a ride in a bus. Now, Jan, I know you've never rode in a
I've
bus.
never been to one of those.
So-
Bill, that was not the right answer. She could get her CDL and she'd come drive for you, I think is what you said.
Yeah, we'll have several different types of buses on display. We're going to have some food, door prizes. Some of our partners that we work with here in the community have graciously donated some door prizes for us. So we're excited about that. And then staff's going to be there. We're even incorporating a little bit of a training because, as you well know, we've got a new software program for our time clock systems. And a lot of our drivers have been off for the summer, so this will be their first time back up at the bus barn. So we're going to have a couple of gals come up and show them how to properly clock in on our new software. So it's going to be a fun day. We look forward to it, and everybody's welcome.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Anderson, we're glad to see you here. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that.
All right, Jan, so nothing curriculum and learning report, so let's move to special services. Al?
Something you'd like, I love it because you're already ready, you're always ready to highlight, so I appreciate that.
Oh, goodness. I'd say the highlight so far this summer is that our behavior team, so I shouldn't call them that, the Seeds team, but it has so many more people in it. Our school psychs, all of them, they've all been getting together throughout the summer, including our new teachers already have come in and they've done some training. They're already working on a plan for next year. They want to present to the admin team, and so they're just full speed ahead already. And so I'm grateful that they're willing to put in that extra time.
Thank you.
Val, what is Abel's? What is that?
Oh, I love it. So one of the challenges is that we have wonderful opportunity for high school kids that are high needs, and then there's not much for them. And so a company in Gillette started. She's a teacher. Her child is special needs, and she decided to do more of a transition program. So they learn social skills, they learn job skills, they learn all sorts of different things. She helps them get employed. And then it was 2 different camps. So depending on a student's ability level, whether or not they could attend both. Some of our kids were able to, but they're going to work. She got together with the high school finals rodeo, and they're going to do some jobs for them. And then they've organized kind of a special rodeo, and they get to attend that as well. And so they're just getting started, but they've talked about detail shops and all sorts of different things. It's a pretty cool opportunity that we're close enough, and they even come get the kids. They transport them themselves. They have a bus, and they come and pick them all up every day. So,
Great opportunity.
yeah, that's amazing.
Val, could you tell me a little bit? I saw in going through the warrants this time, you guys added some Learning Alley audiobook access for qualifying students. So that was a new one on me. Can you tell me what's going there?
So that's actually been a collaboration with myself and the librarian. So a common problem for our kiddos is a lot of them need to read their books along with other students in the classroom. And right now that unfortunately makes some of them stick out. And so we needed to come up with something that had more of an inclusive setting. So right now, if say a teacher wanted all of the kids to have access, they would have to buy an individual copy for every kid. Where this program, it's set up for students on IEPs, but the entire classroom will have access to it too. So it's a rare day when we can have the programs that are intended for special needs students, but every kiddo will benefit from it. Yep, for sure. So she won't have to buy so many individual copies because it's going to be access. Every kid will have access.
Cool. Thank you.
And is this K-12?
Yep, it is K-12.
Any other questions? Great question.
We're super excited.
Thank you.
We're excited.
Okay, Madam Chair, this is where we will turn it over to Connie, and she will go through our budget projection, 23-24, and then we will make sure we do a quick change and talk about 22-23 budget amendment. So we're going to start out. This is for school year 23-24 budget, which we're going to talk about here first. And this is what we will be having a public hearing on, and you'll be voting on as an action.
And as I understand, this is truly hot off the press.
This is truly hot off the press.
It really is.
Hi everybody. I feel like I just spent a lot of time. So everybody, we're going to be looking at this one. So that's the one we're going to be working from. So Charles kind of talked to you a little bit about what's going on today. Spent a lot of time with Tristan on the phone at WBE and just going through our numbers. We got some new numbers. Talked to the county assessor today. Finally got hopefully a certified. He keeps telling me that he's got the letter, but and he's not in the office this week. So I kind of got the numbers from the so hopefully we can go do that. So let's just jump right in to the 2023-2024. Some highlights that we want to go. And we've talked about this before. This year they've included the external cost adjustment, and it's in the model this year, may not be in the model next year. And another thing that you guys are very aware of, they changed the model. So they took the sped reimbursement out of the foundation guarantee calculation. Our ADM decreased, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but it decreased by about 6 kiddos, and the 3-year rolling average, we lost about 23 on that. Again, we'll talk about leveraging grants, and the next thing is the assessed valuation. I remember they were showing that $509 million figure out, and it's 510 currently. And again, no insurance increase was added to the model. We had insurance increases, but there was no increases in the model.
And I'd like to tell the board, if you have questions before we turn every page, let's do it at that time so she doesn't have to come back. And I have a question. I don't understand why the ECA may not be, I thought that they had to be.
Lawsuits about because it's supposed to be in there.
It's a constitutional.
And they vote on it every year, and sometimes they put it in. So, and I remember spending some time with Eli Big out at a meeting, and he was just gleeful. He said, "Sue us."
So, and if you go back and look at the history of it, there's been an ECA been given, but it's been a one-time ECA. If you statute, we're supposed to get an ECA every year, and it's supposed to build on that. That has not been typical. That's one of the many sections that we're looking at in the WPA lawsuit is about the Constitution says this. And some of that came back to, well, we had legislative grace, we've been overfunding the model according to the cost effective. I mean, there's a lot of litigation that's a part of that process, but you're absolutely right. The ECA should be given every year, but with that, I can speak to that and say it hasn't necessarily been given. No. So, okay. And sometimes it has been given based on this is a 1 year only ECA. So that means that next year wasn't included in the model. So again, as legislation comes back around, we'll be curious to see where they stand.
Okay, go ahead.
So the next page is the first page of the budget message, and it's pretty similar to what I gave you earlier. The big student enrollment, I want to bring that to your attention. So average daily attendance has decreased by 6.498 actual students, resulting in our 3-year rolling average decreasing by 23.774 students. The largest classes are in the district are now in the high school, the smallest are in the elementary. And the student average daily attendance in the funding model determines the majority of the school district's funding. So it definitely, ADM definitely affects funding. The next section I want to talk about is the revenue. Again, the county, the assessed valuation received from the county assessor is $56,709, which represents, I'm sorry,
Maybe 502.
did I say that? I have seen so many numbers these last few weeks. It's crazy. Okay, so it's increased 4.1%, 41.5% from last year, and last year again we increased by 36%. So it's been a huge number. And then if you'll look down at the bottom of that paragraph, it says we have yet to receive the final WB 100A report from the Wyoming Department of Education, and our guarantee is still an estimate. Our foundation anticipation increases from $18,640,803 in 2022 to approximately estimated $19,193 in 2023. And that's a difference of $627,391. So it's that elusive 100. I think we've increased teacher salaries by like $160, and then of course we have the ECA, which is included in that increase of 627. We lost FTE because we lost. So let's say they pay $18,000 in FTE for insurance. Well, our insurance just went down because our FTE went from 194 to 190. So it's just kind of a combination.
So Connie, if we can ask questions as we're going.
Sure, I didn't have every page.
So when I kind of hear what's going on, I'm still going to come back and make my comment that I did before about the external cost adjustment. I still think it would be in the district's best interest to give it out as a bonus, because the wage increases are not sustainable, even with what you're saying with the estimated cost adjustment next year. We're trying to financial straits a bit with cash flow. I'm telling you, an employee will not remember $20 a month or a paycheck, but they will remember the $1,200, $1,300 that they might get in a bonus if you invite amongst everybody. So that's my piece.
Next page. Okay. So, expenditures, we've increased by about 1.8% over the prior year's amended budget. So the amended budget, remember, is 23,665 instead of 23,065. And then our new expenditure budget is $24,097,270, and that's an increase of about $40,000. So again, we're just playing with more numbers, getting more accurate numbers that went up just a little bit. Talked about how the foundation calculation has changed, and that's going to be left to that will be it. So the next thing I want to talk to you is the actual budget. This looks more like what we put in the paper with a few little changes. So one of the things, first thing I did is I said the general fund, right? This year's expenditures is budget is $23,065,000. That does not include the amendment we're about to request here in just a few minutes. But expenses are $24,097,270 for the new budget. So I went ahead and broke those down between general fund, less sped, and sped, so you can kind of get an idea. We're trying to move closer to where we always, when we talk about the guarantee, we're talking about that new amount, and then we'll talk about sped separately. So I wanted just to kind of begin that separation. Special revenue went up a little bit due to some changes I made in some grant numbers, and I'll talk to you about that soon. It looks like our major maintenance stayed the same. And I want you to come down to capital projects. So when you guys talked to me before at the work session, you talked about the concern of putting all that money into the budget. So what I did was I changed that a little bit. So capital projects, we have $983,000 instead of the $995 that I was projecting. That's actual cash, and I put that in revenue. And then on the budget, I changed that to $500,000. So that way we're just budgeted $500,000, but we can always look at that revenue and kind of know where we're at. And I changed the revenue for the special depreciation account. 1.2 million is where we're at as of today in cash. And then we just budgeted for $500,000. If you need to move that around, come back to you as needed. Because we just told you that we have some HVAC and some air handlers in AC. So,
Connie, if I can ask real quick on that, the special purpose, so it shows the 22-23 budget, $100,000. What was that used for? Because the depreciation fund is usually a fund that you put money in and hold it into until you need it.
So replace equipment, if I understand right.
Yeah. So when we go over the amended budget, I'll talk to you about what we spent that $100,000 on. But there was some we budgeted years and things like that. But we'll go over that.
So I guess I kind of want to speak to that. So we've been trying, so the goal is to get about $2.5 million in depreciation reserve. And so when we sat down and had a conversation talking about, being transparent of what we actually have in cash, because you as a board asked, well, where's the money coming from? So what we're trying to do here is to present to you what there is for funding, but we're actually only going to put a budget line item of $500,000 and have some amendments with some of this. You're absolutely right. We need to, on the average, it's about 10% of your annual budget needs to be in depreciation reserve. We need to establish those goals and build forward. But this is more of a transparency, especially with these funds, to understand that $100,000, we don't actually have $500,000 budgeted right now, but there's unanticipated, digging up bones is a word that I use a lot. There are things that come to the table, and there's a process when we spend this. We're just trying to be as transparent to you as a board of trustees with some of these funds, where our goal is what that line is.
Didn't we just move $500,000 to the depreciation fund.
Right,
Once
that's
it
why,
has
that's
money.
why
Yeah.
it's 1.2.
Right.
So, so another thing that talking about the depreciation as well is that we're going to get that inventory done and we'll have a cost replacement for all our equipment. Then we're going to be looking at what we need to replace on a yearly basis, and that will be so. We are going to be using it, but trying to build it up.
You probably already answered this, but okay, is the 1.2 million, is that after we take 500,000 out?
That's including the 500,000.
Okay, so we're under.
Oh. Remember, well, okay, so that's cash, right? The 1.2 million is cash.
Right.
And then we're gonna plan our budget that we're gonna spend $500,000 of.
So we'll have less than $1 million left.
So I think the
If
answer
you
is,
spend.
If we spend.
But we're also planning to move $375,000 in from the budget. So,
Okay, I got it.
so at the end of the books, the end of June,
Okay.
she put that money in before the end of June. So there is 1.269 million in there
Okay.
at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, got it.
not quite, but.
Well, that's what
So,
it shows.
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
shows.
so we expensed it as of June 30th, but it didn't come back.
Okay, thank you.
So any questions about, if the tiny house will go away next year, we'll see what is on that item, but I have to include it because I have to include the 21 to actual expenditures, right? So, any questions on that? So that's pretty much our new budget. That's budget for general fund and all other funds is right.
So, Connie, do we supplement food service 800,000?
No, not 800,000, no.
Because that's what the expense was in this past school year.
So that's the budget, the past school year, that's the budget, so we didn't spend quite that much, so we'll come back and look at the that's
So
the
what do you-
actual budget.
What do you typically have to add to?
We moved, for last, in June 22, we moved 150,000. So that kind of set us up for this past year. And then we had several of those supply chain grants. So we were able to not, all we had to do was about $25,000 in FY20. So, but you'll see on your list that we just had a $50,000 check to start this year as well. So we'll probably spend all that this year.
Any more questions on this one? Okay, thank you, Connie. Go. Okay.
We talked a little bit about this, but kind of just wanted to have a slide on it. So in FY 2024, assessed valuation was $510,856,709. And this is an increase of 41.5% from 2020. So it increased by $149,856,709. That's crazy, crazy money. And then last month, you guys voted to your intent to levy 1 mil for the rec board and 0.5 mil for the coaches. And so we're coming back with the actual number now. The 1 mil is $510,857. And coaches is $255,420. Any questions on that? So we just want to talk a little bit about revenue. So our estimated foundation guarantee at this moment, which is estimated, right, is $19,200,190. The sped reimbursement from the last time I showed you went down just a tad, $3,821,313. Again, that's a calculation, estimate. Have not actually taken out that extra retirement, and I have reviewed the expenses to make sure they're all involved. Sometimes that changes a little bit as you go through, put together the 401 for the sped reimbursement. So the new fiscal year guarantee, again, this is the old way of thinking, but it's $23,089,506. So really, the foundation guarantee on the 100 will be the 19 million, adding together the way we normally do. So why we retirement reimbursement estimate is about 270 that change. The interest, I changed this a little bit for today. We actually received $107,061 in interest. We made about $3,500 last year. So that's what we actually made this past year. So that's what I used to be conservative. So if you took, I took the April, May, and June, right, and divided it. And if you take that average and multiply by 12 months, it's about $200,000. So give or take 100,000 to 200,000. Hopefully we get the
Excuse me, this is 107, was that a full 12 months? Okay.
I think about 35 before at the end of March.
So didn't we just, should we sign up in December for that? So,
It was March 5th.
oh, okay, so, yeah. we did
Visit
good.
every 6 months.
So again, and we want to talk about our cash carryover estimate is 1.7 million. So that's taking that bank account that I left beside you, subtracting outstanding checks and subtracting the June 10th, the June 30th check run that you approved tonight. That left us with 1.7 million to carry over, and then we talked about moving that amount that special revenue owes before June 30th. We didn't get that done, so it's just as a separate line item. So we moved about 1.5 million of it on Friday. Was it Friday?
Yes.
And I'll explain a little bit about that in a little bit. So any questions on revenue? Okay, so we just talked about cash carryover, right? Now we're going to talk about cash reserves. They're two different things. And so so this is how we calculate cash reserve, or this is the calculation of cash reserve, not how we calculate. So our guarantee for FY23 was 21,688.33. They changed the foundation calculation, so we have to subtract that SPED reimbursement out. So that's SPED reimbursement for FY22. To get a new foundation for FY23 is $18,640,803. So then you will multiply that by your 30% cash reserve that you keep, and that's 5.5. Before it was 6.6. So that's one of those negative consequences that I didn't know. So we're anticipating having a cash reserve of $3.3 million, about 17.9%. So I told you on the slide before that our cash carryover is 1.7 million, but our cash reserve is 3.3. Cash reserve includes cash, but it includes a lot of other things that we will talk about. So,
Any questions? Okay.
all right. So, just kind of try to define what cash carryover versus. So the cash carryover is the amount of actual cash in the bank at June 30. So we estimated it to be $1,700,000, right? So the anticipated cash reserve is the process of using cash, other assets, and liabilities to calculate the fund balance, and then removing any non-spendable and restricted amounts. And this creates the cash reserve. And this is an audited amount, so this is all estimated. So Kevin comes and presents the audit to you. He will show you the actual cash reserve. So on the left, when we talk about assets include cash, accounts receivable, retirement outside of the model, that $270,000 we estimated earlier, prepaids, inventory. The liability includes accounts payable and accrued expenses. You can kind of put those together. I gave a definition of what those two things are, but they're pretty much the same thing, something right? So you take the assets, you subtract those liabilities, and you get the fund balance. Then you take the fund balance, which is equity, okay? We call it fund balance in fund accounting, right, it's fund balance. Then you're gonna subtract that unspendable. So that's prepaid and that's in. Okay, and then you can subtract the restricted, and so this year they're gonna allow us to restrict that 2.9 million we owe back to the state, so that doesn't count against our cash reserves.
So Connie, in the line there, cash carryover, it says, is the amount of actual cash in the bank as of June 30th. So is that what it should say?
Sorry, yes, it's cash finance.
It's what you anticipate to carry over, not
Yes.
the actual cash.
Sorry. But it's actual.
Your cash
amount,
carryover,
yes.
cash carryover is what it should say.
Where should that say that?
See what it says there,
It's where
Dan? It
it's
says
in the
there's the
actual
amount
cash,
of
it should say
actual
asset.
cash, and that doesn't.
Okay.
I should have said, Jan, I should have said right here on, for the amount of cash, actual cash in bank, minus outstanding checks, minus the last June 30 check.
Minus the cash that you, whatever you call it, like the cash, what I want, major maintenance, things like that. No. Because they don't
It's the
count.
cash in bank, the top general fund cash in bank, minus any outstanding checks that haven't come through, and then the June 30 check that we approved tonight, all that, except that we want to. Any questions on that? Sorry. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the general fund, going back to the general fund, and we're going to divide it into functions. And remember the function, instructional support, general support, and transfers. And I put the definitions on this as well, so you can go back and remind yourself. But remember, instruction is anything that actually be instructed in. So that's elementary, middle school, high school activities, SPED, anything that starts with a 1, classes, after school or extended day, all that is in the instructions, salaries, benefits, and operations. So instructional support is going to be nurses, counselors, curriculum, speech therapy, any of those speech pathologists, any of those guys, psychologists, all of them come out of the 2000s. General support is going to be board, it's going to be transportation, it's going to be business office, it's going to be technology, it's going to be facilities, all that. That's kind of a big chunk of it, and that's in general support. And then the transfers are the things that we move, the money we move to food service and depreciation. Those are not loans. They're actually when you transfer money, you're actually giving money without taking it back. So we're for like special revenue, so you don't have that, so you have to get reimbursed for any expenses that we make out of revenue. So sometimes we have to use general fund money to pay for that, and then that's we have to loan special revenue that money can get. That's the difference there.
Hi, if I can ask, instructional support went down by 34,000. Is that because you hired the C's people and they took some of the positions?
It could have, yes, it could have been.
And that's, and so part of instruction is that even though that's reimbursable, the C's program, so is that included in the $711,000 increase?
So no, the 7 best. So the bulk of the money it really is instruction and general support, right? So instruction is teachers. So we increased because we increased, yes, we added all those
so the sped
stuff
is
in
what
there.
you're telling me, even though
And
it's
then
reimbursed.
salaries, benefit, the increase to the base, and then steps in. But we also tried to make some cuts in there too. So the 711 does include some cuts, which you just don't see because instruction versus there's not a lot of salaries instructions. In the same way with the transfers, we did a 10% increase. Ish. That may have been a little bit less or something like that. So, so the change in the budget, 32,000, it was 909,000. and $91,000 for the park before. We just had to add some, found some more expenses due to different added up students. Any questions about this?
I don't know if this is the right place to ask this question. I was not at the last work session in June. Did you give a little clarification on how much the step raises are and the steps in the lane stuff? You said that's part of the 711,000. Then you said earlier about the raise is just small.
Yeah, so if you look at, I will go with this. So the ECA, so steps and lanes is costing about $194,000. The increase in the base is costing about $176,000, and that's all functions. I didn't separate those out. So
How much is the base?
Increase to the base is about $176,000.
So,
And did we increase the base on everything or just teachers?
Teachers, 700, and then increase the classified hours that we have 50 cents an hour. So, but we did not increase any teachers. I mean, we did increase them, but we didn't increase the base. They got a step.
Thank you.
Oh, I see.
Got it.
Any questions there?
So I want to come back to this. So I asked Connie to put this last line in there. Because you're going to do a budget amendment for this year. So that budget amendment is going to make those things. So I just want to be transparent. With the adoption of the budget amendment, which will be after the adoption of the budget, okay, those numbers change. So that's what we're doing that on.
Another clarification. These are budgets, not actual expenses. So it's looking like we'll come in way below the 20. But we made a guesstimate as to what that increase would be. And we just always want to be overly cautious and budget. So this is just the definitions that we talked about earlier. So that's just we want to talk about grants here. And something didn't come in, so I apologize. Oh.
On the sheet of paper.
Okay, it's working on this. So I just want to talk about a few things that I've changed on this. So the first one is
Go ahead.
readjusted the actual June 30th activity in carryovers. So we spent some money, so I decreased those carryovers according to what we spent on June 30th. And then on 6/11, I didn't have 6/19. I didn't have those correct numbers yet. The grant was the first time going through this, so I trued those up. Also, I trued up SR2 and SR3 a little bit. And then I increased the build grant. So we have 3 years of build grant. So last year we were awarded $1.2 million. This coming year we were awarded $1.3 million and then another $1 million next year. So again, this is actually how much we can spend on those grants. I added the LED lights grant that John has applied for. So whether we did it or not, it's already in there, so you don't have to worry about adding it. And then I added the COPS grant, which is the grant that's going to do the bell and intercom system for PHS and Crystal.
So John, what are the LED lights?
The state of Wyoming had sent me an email through the Wild Light program, just offering a retro grant for $25,000 to upgrade our lighting to LED. Didn't cost anything to apply for. 2 pages, I just filled it out. And matter of fact, tonight, right before the meeting, I got an email from them that they want to come do a power assessment.
What's interesting is 3 or 4 years ago, Joe, you were here. 3 or 4 years ago, they supposedly changed all the lights to LED. Do you remember that? Because I asked the question what they do with the old lights. They said they took them to the dump. I said, you didn't give them to anybody? You didn't. And so that's interesting. But Anyhow, so Connie, the other question I have is on the homeless, the grants, so about 55,000. What, do we have that kind of need here?
So remember, it's the American Rescue Plan. Money, those extra funds that we have. And so, New West Administrative Assistant is going to be called,
She's a homeless coordinator.
but she's student success coordinator is the name of it. And part of her job title is going to be the homeless liaison. And so we'll be paying for her salary for these amounts. And so we'll be able to, and they're, have to be spent by, September 30th. So that's what we're going to be spending.
So Dave, when you talk about homeless qualifications isn't just they're not homeless, it's whether they're in the trailer park or.
I remember Steve telling us about that.
So there's all sorts of different, so it's
totally
not
different
your
what most of
vision
us have
of
in
just
mind.
being not homeless, it's where they're at, and what kind of home they're in, or if they're transitioning, if they're living with a relative and not living with their biological, so there's a lot of different qualifications.
I've been playing.
That's not what we want to hear, Connie.
I know, but it's like, what you said, it's like, oh.
Sorry, I'll bring it up.
We'll come back to it then.
Wave me down, we'll get you. Okay.
Any other questions?
Wait, we got it.
So what's the plan for this person's salaries when that money is spent, for the art money?
Okay, so we're going to be looking at, so of the grants, you can take a percentage of every grant at the administrative piece. And so she's going to be helping the business office as well with the grants and compiling some information so we can use part of that to pay for her salary. And also he's applying for the actual mental homeless grant, and we'll be able to spend. So we're going to be pretty creative there.
And Jody, you might not have been here, so we're going to do the artificial intelligence.
Make sure you put your grammatical errors in
there. So we can make it so we're cheating. Okay. Okay. So some other information, and we've talked about this several times, but the external cost adjustment, these are the percentages that are in the model. Professional staff, that's administrators and teachers, the increase is 1.04254, and then the non-professional staff, that's classified staff, is 1.05377. And I just want to be on the record that Irish classified staff is very professional. Sorry, it uses those words. And then the energy, increase in energy at 1.08925, and supplies with a little bit of an increase as well. And we usually get those two PCOs for supplies and energy, but it just always looks like the same. And so remember, the ECA is calculated using the model FTEs and model salaries, not the Johnson County actual FTEs and base salaries. So the example is the base salary for a teacher in the model is $37,540, and then the base salary for a Johnson school district teacher is $45,300, and again that's going up to $46,000 after you approve the budget. But and then again we talked about the ECA steps on things. So again, if remember they compile everybody's education and everybody's experience, and they kind of throw it in a pot, throw it back out, and they give an average amount so that for every teacher, nurse, counselor, librarian, it's that amount. And that's what the ECA is built on, not what we pay for.
We didn't. Or did we not?
What are the steps and links? Like, is there just a whole guideline for all the teachers to say, oh, if I did this, then I can they know everything?
So like a master's, so if you get a master's, you get to move to that master's step. And then if you get, is there a master's plus 15? Mm-hmm. And then if you get 50, once you complete 15 more credit hours, then you could go to the next one. And then master's plus 30, so on and so forth.
We even have a doctor.
So Connie, if you could, maybe you could print that, give it to some of the board members that don't have it.
We have lots of them. and they're on the website, under the HR piece. That might be the easiest if they're free.
Yeah.
But definitely we're keeping it free.
Does this raise in our base? I know when Mitch Kraft did that research for us, he had indicated our base pay was low, but our average pay was higher because of the longevity of the staff here. Does this bring the base pay up to more of a, not close?
So that's part of, I mean, I'll come in and I'll speak to this. Yeah, we've got to find a way to balance this because it's not a guarantee every year, but this is also the recruiting. This is the starting piece. This is how we're recruiting people. And if we don't start coming closer to that, we're not going to get some of the candidates, those young ones. So it is kind of chipping away at what that looks like. And that's a great question, Jody, to help with that. But my recommendation to you, and I get the one-time bonus type thing that's up front, but if we don't start having a recruiting tool saying our base is at least competitive or we are moving forward to increase it, and I'm going to be transparent even more. Our classified staff, we need to keep chunking away at that. We are not going to compete with Love's Truck Stop. We're not going to compete with some of these others until we start chunking away and getting our classified staff up to where we need to be. I'm not satisfied with where we're at, but I can't come to you as a board and say this is where we need to be. I can't get our base to $50,000 with you in the base and say, hey, we can do $50,000 base salary for teachers because that's unsustainable. But to have to compete with $17 an hour, which is coming, to be realistic and have people buying homes and our classified staff, we have to start finding a way to do that. But it is, I think it's a good incentive to show to our staff and to our community we're at least taking a step forward to do that in a feasible manner. And as we look at that piece, maybe something will come out of it. Maybe there's a lot of unpredictables that we're looking at, but right now I feel the culture and our district and our employees need to know that we are at least attempting something that's long-term for them. It might not be a lot, but at least we're moving forward with something. Doesn't take away our challenge of finding that sustainable budget. I don't want to say balanced. I'm going to change my verbiage. Sustainable budget over time and leveraging some grants. Absolutely.
Hey, Charles, I would like to say that a lot of the teachers have said, wow, they appreciate the 3,000 being added to the budget.
Yeah. So, and those are one-time things, but
and that's kind of
and I asked Connie to add some of this stuff. She's been a trooper, needless to say. There are some misperceptions out there. Everybody thinks that 1.04254 is based on what we give as a salary, and it's not even close. Okay, that's why we said it's based on the model salary, which is for teachers alone. Administrators is a whole different category. Administrator, I mean, some of our classified staff, they might be making, I'm just going to use a rough number, at $17 an hour. But that doesn't mean the model's paying it at $17 an hour. So those things are all things that Connie and I have to go through when we're looking at this process. And there's a big 100% reimbursable. Okay. There are rules tied to that, okay? There are rules tied to that. And so it's not necessarily 100% reimbursable. But if it is reimbursable, and those of you that have been on the board know, that's a year down the road. Okay, so you've got to chunk it and budget it and long-term plan it out so you can budget where we're at. Food service and technology are way underfunded. Food service isn't funded, so let's just be straight up across the board. Food service is not even funded. So there are some areas that are underfunded as we kind of take a look at what we're doing here. But I am making a recommendation to you because I know our staff need to see it's at least a small step forward. The HSAs are a great thing, but that's a one-time with COVID funds. And we're going to talk about a lot of steps that have to take place after tonight. But I appreciate you guys entertaining what we're recommending to you.
Charles, in education, does anybody do sign-on bonus?
What's that? Large districts.
A lot of districts do. Is it
large?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Even as bus drivers, if you could do a sign-on bonus and have to work for a year, just as you try to be creative and
I know that
I know somebody's going to come back and say it's not equitable. Well, there's a lot of professional people that do it.
Absolutely, but there's a culture thing with that too. You have somebody who's been working here for 7 or 8 years, and you give them a new person that $7,000 bonus, just an example, because, well, I heard of a $25,000 bonus.
A little more than that.
25 grand, but even in that, I'm gonna go back when I first got here. The fact is, we had some people that had a $1.50 raise, and somebody that had a 10-cent raise who had been here for 5 or 6 years. There were people ready to walk out. Okay, just the fact is, our new salary schedule right now, people go, well, I'm gonna quit and rehire me. Well, I can't guarantee I'm gonna rehire you. So when you give bonuses, you have to remember there are other people that it's a value thing. Absolutely, special ed is one that comes right across the board. That there are some huge signing bonuses for some different people, but in a large district, they can offer those bonuses because they have $100 million budget, and they're talking about a key person, not 100 key people in that. But if we were to able to offer those, okay, anything other than special ed and transportation, it has to be defendable. You're absolutely right. We have to have a contract. It has to guarantee they're going to work, and some different things. But it's also a culture thing because our food service gals, they need to be recruited too. So I know there's some equity piece in that, but finding that balance and that culture thing is it's kind of a balance. And if we can get to that point, I would be all in favor of it if it wasn't going to destroy some different culture pieces.
I was just curious, because I know hospitals do that all the time. I don't care if it's RNs, whatever it is, they'll hire $5,000, $10,000 higher on bonus, and I don't know what the other people.
Natrona County does that. They have higher on bonuses. But the position has to be open for so many years. And then people can offer something else.
There's some speed services right now that are putting people over the barrel with an extraordinary amount of money. So virtual services are putting school districts in a bind, especially with special ed, because they can provide services and charge an extraordinary amount of money. Your speech pathologists and some of these other specialists that can do something. So unfortunately, that's tied to federal requirements.
One more question.
No, yes, all in.
Well, this is not really on tonight. I just want to know, I know we are here for the bus drivers. What does the base pay increase to now, bus drivers?
So we're currently at 1792 base. So with the approved budget, that would be 50 cents more, would be the base. So when we look at that, I look at Campbell County. Craig just told me they were recruiting at 1890 for their base, but they also have a signing bonus because they're a larger district. Probably the one thing that, and this probably goes against where we're at as far as not needing bus drivers, but the way it was explained to me by Connie and Charles, we were able to, when we look at our steps, the 15-year step program we have a really lucrative step program if we're able to implement those steps compared to other districts. They have a smaller step program. So that's something to look into as well.
So, and that's a good piece for new board members. So instead of a 40-cent raise, we base it on a percentage. So the longer you're here, the more the raise is. So in some cases, you have your 10-year veteran that's not getting 40-cent raise like the first year. They're going to get they've been here 15 years. Now, when we get to that sustainable budget, and I want to repeat the word sustainable, we might increase it from 15 steps or 15 years to 20 years and be able to increment and kind of progress that to keep longevity. We have it. It hasn't been developed yet, but another thing that we can do all the training in the world, and then they go out there and make 27 to 30 bucks an hour driving because we do all the training. So we want to be able to add that 30 hours, which includes benefits, which I honestly feel our benefit package is probably better than most as we look at that and sustainability for that and start recruiting some of those things. But, down the road, I would like to be able to come to you as a board and be able to say, after we do some administrator salary schedules, after we kind of start working on that process, because I firmly believe in knocking on wood, next year's not going to be filled with so many legal events as we move through the world. We can start doing some different things, and then maybe we start looking at the numbers of years or the numbers of steps and do that, not only recruit piece, but there's that other word on the other end is retain, recruit and retain. And I'm hoping that we can be one of those districts. You know what? A 7-year teacher in another district is maxed out already and we've surpassed them. So now we can start recruiting veteran teachers because our salary schedule is there too. So it's kind of trying to find some of that balance. Love's truck stop is going to be the hardest one to compete with classified staff. If and when that project gets off the ground. Did that answer your question?
Questions for Connie? Are we continuing on, or we? Okay.
So I just want to talk about a little bit about the progress towards a sustainable budget. So as you can see, last year we were 1.3 million difference between guarantee and our budget, and this year it's $811,000. So it's less than half, but we're making progress. So we'll kind of talk about what the anticipated revenue that we talked about earlier.
So Connie, with that, I just want to footnote. So I had her put this in here because you had a great question. Where's the money coming from? So you had that great question. So we're going to divide this out to show you when we're talking about how we're leveraging funds and what we're trying to do and what that looks like. Because one of the things we have not talked about is that recapture payment, which if you read the paper is still real. So hopefully some good questions can be asked on this next slide. Okay.
So again, we talked about that $27 million from earlier on another slide. And so we take our total budget amount and we subtract that. I'm sorry, that's the estimated difference. So that's what we have left after we spend this budget. So the recapture payment is $2.9 million. And then the estimated tax shortfall are the refund that we get back. Because remember, I estimated that we would get more money than that counties to us that guarantee rate, and it's about $1 million. 2 days ago it was $1.7 million. So it just keeps changing. So I'm just really anxious to get that final 100.
So be honest, Connie. Connie was upset with me because I made her put this number in. So the reality is the number is it's so volatile with movement that we're going to go on the low end of what that looks like. But hopefully you as a board and the community and stakeholders can see that 2.9, that's why there's an illusion in there because there's a shortfall coming back, potential shortfall. And so we're just trying to be as transparent. And that's a key number for us as we look at developing a repayment schedule.
So cash available for budget support is 1.1 million. And so we're saying that we're in a shortfall of 811 million. That leaves us with about $374,000 to play. So one of the things that this is where I want to really talk about what we're doing with ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 and some of the changes that we've made. So part of that grant is that you can use funds, use expenses, and create funds to help continue operations at the same level, right? So we had some pretty big increases with insurance, health insurance. We had a $32,000 increase in just property insurance. Utilities have gone up by about 20% since 2020, and some things like that. So we're in the process of getting permission to use, and remember, it all has to tie back to COVID, these expenses, right? So in 2020-21, in the middle of COVID, right, we're going to use those teacher salaries. And we're going to request to be reimbursed for the 2020-21 teacher salaries. Because remember, ESSER can go all the way back to March of 2020, right? And so those expenses are COVID related. We're having a hard time keeping teachers. We've had all kinds of crazy things going on. So we feel pretty confident that those can be used at. So we've already spent that money, right? And so all that money is coming into the general fund. So we're looking at about $1 million between ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 to be able to put in our general fund pot. And that would increase that $374,000. So that's
When will we know?
Hopefully in the next few, maybe a couple of weeks. They have lost staff like crazy at different meetings, so we're really behind amendments.
So it's August 12th is the date that they're finalizing.
Now, August 12th is my reporting.
Your
So that's the 100, the 401, all that stuff. 401 is all due then.
But that's all if they will accept that.
According to Bonnie and Monica from Greenstein, they have all the documentation.
They are helping us write this.
Okay. Thank you.
So can I add to this, just so you know there's a cushion there because these numbers kind of vary a little bit. If you go back to the second page of the budget message.
right there.
So right there it says, second page, which would be transfers. Right there, we do have that last sentence of the transfers. If necessary, all or part of this 375,000 may be used for budget contingencies. So in that process, there is some potential that money that was expected to go to depreciation reserve also falls into this kind of how we are coming to you and saying.
So we didn't budget to the penny of what
Yes.
expenses are. So
That doesn't mean we have to expend what we have up there. Yeah. Well spent.
No, didn't come back. So the next steps, we just kind of wanted to say that our job is not anywhere close to being over, trying to get this year going. So one of the challenges is, we have two systems working, two accounting systems, and to take what the account numbers and visions and the account numbers and Howard are not the same, so it's going to be a hand engineering of these budgets. So that's one of the big challenges. We have to update all the contracts in Skyward. We're not quite to the point where we can just roll contracts over. We're still in the process of trying to get all that information into what they call employment management. So we're having to do all those by hand. And the grants, again, we talked about this. I've already got that process started. We're just waiting for we're definitely for SR2. I've got it and I've got the paperwork for both of them. I asked them to do the paperwork and the documentation for SR2 and SR3. We're asking the same thing for those two grants. And then we capture sustainability. We're going to ask you, come to you and ask you to pay teachers over 12 months instead of paying 3 payments in June, so that we can spread those expenses out. We'll be talking about, if somebody terminates or somebody retires, you stop paying for their insurance in May and not paying it in August. So there's just some things that we have some ideas on.
So I know we talked about this, but this is where I want to key in. This is where we start having a hard conversation all about needs versus wants. This is what we start having with the new budget, our actual expenditures and what we're looking at. This is where we start having that conversation about revenues. Just because we have a budget of, it looks like we have $27 million in revenue, we don't have $27 million in the bank. So it's based on our monthly income and budgeting out appropriately with where we're at. So this is where I emphasize, just because we say we have a budget, just because, sorry, I'll use, just because I told you have $4 million to spend, he might not be able to spend it right now because we haven't got all the revenues, we have to distribute that. So that's a message that we're going to start preaching about. Just because we say we have it doesn't mean we have it in our account to spend. So in this process of what we're talking about, we have a plan, and I want to reassure you as a board, we have a plan as we move forward. But when we approve this tonight, there's a misperception. There's $27 million in the bank. We can spend it any way we want. We're going to have to really do our due diligence to make sure that we plan accordingly, we spend as we're accordingly, and we make sure the revenues are coming in. There's a strong possibility that we'll get more revenues than we projected here today, and that we'll have another repayment next year. But we're going to put that money in a place where it gains interest, or we can do some things, we can recapture that. But in the meantime, we have some short-term things that we need to take care of as we're moving forward with this plan. It also means that part of that month of June is a huge expenditure for us with salaries and benefits. So we've got to balance that. So by going to 12 months doesn't mean we want to take away, but in fairness to teachers, and we'll start having that conversation, is do you want to check that bounces or do you want to check that passes the bank? So we're going to start having that conversation. They need to start financially planning because a lot of people have been used to that large check and planning on summer activities or summer plans so that they can professionally start maybe budgeting for that large sum check as we kind of come through. That insurance piece of when you're, it's been a benefit, but it's probably a benefit we might not be able to offer is we continue with their insurance until September. So when you're done an employee, you're over and kind of start operating business in that form or fashion as we move forward. So over the next couple of months, we'll be reviewing some recommendations, or at least keeping you informed as a board of what these recapture sustainability protocols might be as we kind of, okay? Is that fair? Travis?
Yeah, it's all right. I wasn't going to spend it tonight anyway.
So a little bit about stable reporting. We talked to Trent about the possibility that we're going to put together that fee. And so one of the things he told us is that he could give us our tax shortfall early, if I can get the 100 early. And so we'll be trying to do that. We'll try to get that done as quickly as possible, and then that will put actually get that tax shortfall or that refund quicker, and that we can apply for the recapture loan that we can possibly get.
So that doesn't make a look of common sense. We're going to give money, and then we're going to get money back, but we got to get. Is it for bookkeeping reasons that they do that?
It's in the state statute.
Okay.
Because they only true up the year, the year, they true up the ending year in the next.
There's probably a reason for it.
There is, and so Connie helped me with that too. She goes, Charles, we voiced down my first letter to the state, and that's pretty set on this, but the state statute, they're going to work with this, and these are just part of the rules that we have to follow. So that's kind of work.
And then we'll then for the recapture plan, talk a little bit about that. We'll work very closely with it. And then
does everybody know what a recapture loan is?
No, that's not what you
Because we are a recapture district, we now qualify for a zero interest loan up to 10%. Well, 15%. But anyway, it's a percentage of what your guarantee is that you can apply for. They'll give you that operating expense to manage, and you have to pay it back. There's payback periods that have to go through. So in order to make sure we have monthly revenue, that part of our goal is downloading ESSER funds and getting this loan approved so that we can meet, because we really don't know what our monthly revenues from local revenues look like in taxes we pay. So we're going to get a loan, which is what most all recapture districts do. So this is common protocol. This isn't because we're in really bad shape. I'm going to say we're at risk, but I don't want to point at, hey, we're going out to get a loan. This is common practice for any district that is a recapture district. So that's why this system is in place. So that's why we're going to go after it. We're going to follow typical protocol of what recapture districts do and apply for this loan so that we can make sure our revenue flow is okay.
keep that in a place and just use it as we need it, and then hopefully by the time it's time to grab it, so.
Okay, recapture payment.
And I already walked through that. We just with Trent, and they are very well with this.
what's on the board.
$250,000. Oh, here they are. I thought I turned all this off, sorry.
So, I want to summarize something. You just seen 8 things there on that page, and that's only, we still got a couple more we could have added. It's kind of an ongoing joke, hey, how's your summer? You guys had a couple weeks off in the front office. And I'm going to be as transparent as I can. It was pretty stressful here today. That's just getting to this point. The anxiety is I want everybody to come back tomorrow because I have 8 more steps. We're going to take what we've been dealing with for the last 3 or 4 weeks and take it times 4. We've got a lot of work in front of us as a district office and a business team. And so my gratitude and attitude towards what they're doing here today from everybody at the district level. I've missed some things, Connie's missed some things because we're trying to find numbers and we're trying to do, we do not want to be in this spot. But the conversation about saying, oh, you passed the budget, it's easy. We just actually, with your approval tonight and blessings with the budget, it now ramps up, okay? And so stress levels and anxiety might be a little higher, but give us some grace as we move through. But special thanks to everybody that's put in some time, because there still are some unknowns, but hopefully tonight what we presented to you is at least enough of a security blanket to know it is achievable. All right, with revenues. Dave, you've asked some great questions because I got to be honest with you. I think we're going to make more interest than we projected. All right, I'm going to still look at you and say I'd rather come to you with a positive.
And I'm making suggestions.
So the negative as we move forward with some of those things. But again, these are projections. And we really cannot sit down and have a hard conversation about what we can and can't do until we get this 100 officially done. And we negotiate our plan with the state, how we can do payment. And as we do this journey, and the key word is I want to say is a journey, as we move into the system. So I appreciate you guys' time tonight. I think there's a lot of great questions. And just for the sake of time, Madam Chair, let's quickly go through the budget amendment, and then if you as a board have more questions, then we get to the action item.
Okay, so we're on this one, and it's exactly what I presented before. I didn't make any changes. So if you look on that next page, this page, here's where we're changing the budget. We're adding $600,000 to that amendment, and it looks like it's going to be closer to really the expenses of about $200,000 over budget. And remember, we've got about $500,000 we added to SPED, so that's awesome. That means, $300,000 left on the table. And then major maintenance, we just added to make sure we cover all those expenses, and of course, all the things that we did in major maintenance, so it's crazy. And then capital construction, we increased to $25,000. And then special purpose, we increased to $125,000 for another $25,000 for an increase of an amendment of $1,271,953. And again, we didn't spend this much, but we're just kind of putting that cushion in to make sure that we are not spending more than we budgeted. And Casey, I'm so sorry. I've been focused right there and I haven't looked at you at all. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, so if you go to the next page, this kind of gives you the reason why we increased what we did. So general fund, of course, remember the sped salaries and benefits and some of those budgeting things that we dismissed when we rolled the budget over, and then of course the increase in utilities. Major maintenance, really more projects than what we planned at the beginning of the year. Capital projects, we did the heaters at KC, and we did some T-fish repair, because it's really about the construction piece. Depreciation, we did the Verkada cameras. We bought a baritone saxophone for $6,000. Bought a freezer, and then we bought the trailer. And I think the airplane has a new
Optimistic.
Paint.
So, those are the reasons why we're, moving those, that amendment, to be a little bit more than it was. And if you this kind of breaks it down by function. So again, that makes sense that we increased the 1,000 by 311. That's what the majority of this sped is. 2,000 is 88,000. Then a lot of not as much that is in instruction, but quite a bit in the 2,000. And then we increased the thousands by 200,000. Some of that was that legal fee that we paid for the budget for. So. And so that the totals of the total of $600,000. And we did not change the budget amount for transfers, but I did switch it up a little bit. So, and again, this is budget. So we did $500,000 to depreciation and then $96,000 to the food service. Remember, we only paid $25,000 for food service, so we did some of that on the table, and then we did actually pull $500,000.
Put it in simple terms for me again. This is not, we have this money, correct? In that area. We just didn't use all of it, so we're taking more out of that area, correct?
Okay, so this is general fund. So you're talking, so let's go back to this page. So the major maintenance, capital construction, depreciation, those we had the money for.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. General fund is that
we have to take it from the general fund. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
And so that is in all of it in a nutshell. So a couple of things I do want to bring up. Jan spent some time with me on Friday. So we got a call from the Bank of Buffalo, and we had too much money problem to have. So they have a pledge limit of $4.75 million, and we had $5.5 million. So major maintenance and special revenue sit in that bank. And so we just, July 1st, we got a major maintenance payment. Our first quarter, $377,000, and then I had drawn down quite a bit of cash for special revenues, so at the time. And so that will be a finding on the audit, because we didn't have it all on June 30th. So I moved that money, we moved it to the Wyoming Government Investment Fund. We moved $1.5 million into general fund in Wyoming Government Investment Fund, and then we created a new major maintenance account for $1.4 million into widget as well, and they're paying about 5.05% interest. And that is very liquid. It doesn't, it's very easy to transfer it back into wherever we need to be. But we drop that down because we're going to get another big payment when I do my cash write-downs for June 30th.
And no penalties on that interest for early withdrawal?
No, because it's all liquid. It's not in the CD.
If you put it in CD.
And we've looked at that too, 106 right now. It's just need to double count.
But those accounts that we're talking about still have the same total amount for there. We just can't keep it in a bank that's not sure.
Understand that, yeah. And so First Northern, you could open another account there. Their limits are much higher.
But they don't fix.
Which is 4.75?
First Northern's paying us 3.75, and then Widget is paying 5.05%. We thought we took advantage of that.
Any more questions for Connie? Connie, on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank you all your work. Please let the office people know how much we appreciate the hours and hours. Like I said, I've gone by here on several evenings, weekends, and nights, and there are cars here.
Well, so we decided to give those HSA incentives. We did not let them know we were open in the spots. it has been a pretty huge nightmare. So, she's still working on that, that payment should go out in this, in July, but it's been a lot of work for her, and just hope she doesn't leave me.
So what is, Connie, if you can elaborate, what are the problems?
Okay. So if you already had an HSA, right, then you have to figure out how much you can put in. If you've already put in a lot, then we can only put in the amount that's left, and then the rest of it will be put in January. That was one issue. And then some of them have already paid too much, so they've already, and then their HSA, well, that'll work, but then they have to change how much they're putting in. So that was a calculation. And then some people have, they're on their spouse's insurance, which is in a high deductible health plan, so they can't even get an HSA because they don't qualify because you have to have all. So it's just one crazy step, and it's been a pretty, so daughter's with no problem. Give her a high five, she's been working so it's been awesome. Okay, take a breath, Connie.
Well, so that's a good problem.
Yes,
It's just, it's all individualized.
All right, we will move on to the rec board report.
So last meeting I went prepared to spend all night there digging out all of the, going through that, but they did not choose to do that, and they wanted to wait until totally fit as budget, and then so tomorrow.
Okay.
Know more about what the next year looks like. So it was very short. I think there was the fairgrounds bleachers finally. So that was a big process for them, and they canceled and couldn't get the bleachers, but they finally got them. So that was 1 week. And I was prepared tonight. I did bring that sheet that Jack Tarter gave us for me. If anyone wants to look at the funds that have been spent since 2008. I thought Randy would be here. It's ready for him, but that's all.
BOCES, just like us, they spend most of the time talking about salaries. So that's a big report for them.
The BOCES, we have not had a meeting.
For time's sake, we've all read through leadership governance, and I'm going to just kind of keep going through this because we're going to, like I told you, is it going to be September or August?
Yeah, you talked about
September, that we are going to start doing our leadership governance a little bit different. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that tonight. The 2.2 is about policy. I commend our policy committee that we have, and anybody is welcome. We have room for 2 more board members to be on that if they so choose. It is a good committee. Beyond Maggie Lambert runs it, and very efficient. It's 1 hour, and we are finished. There are 3?
Yeah.
Well, only 2 ever show, so well, sometimes people can't. Okay, sorry, we have room. We do. My fault, thank you. So, I'm going to go on, if you don't mind, and let's head on down to our consent agenda for right now. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? A second, please.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. All right, by legal, we are now going to enter into a public hearing. I would ask the board to hold their comments until we get to the action items, but we will go into a public hearing for the budget. May I have a motion to enter into a public budget hearing?
So moved.
Second, please. Any discussion? Again, I ask for us to hold our comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we have any public comment? And I would like to really stress to people who are watching, all of our work sessions are open to the public. We welcome you. The only thing that we don't do during a work session is take public comment. We don't vote, but it is a regular, we have an agenda, we follow it. So any and all people are always welcome to our work sessions. No public comment? All right, so may I have a motion to exit the budget hearing and re-enter into regular board meeting?
So moved.
No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are now back into our regular board meeting. And here we go. This is our biggie. May I have a motion to approve the JCSD 1 proposed budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year as presented? Second, please. Discussion.
Who was that?
Lynette. No discussion. All those in favor of to approve the JCSD 1 proposed budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The budget has been approved. May I have a motion to approve the 2023 budget amendment?
So moved.
And second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the motion to approve the 2023 budget amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. So we now have our budget and we also have our amendment. The next one. We're going to go through this. Mr. Oski, when we get to the discussion part, would you please kind of
I've already
okay, we have a motion to approve the WDE assurance document. Would be the WDE LEA assurance document.
So moved.
And second, please.
Second.
Mr. Oski, would you kind of?
Okay, so this was part of a discussion we had, and my misinterpretation, I used the word policy when it should be assurances. But I've asked Val to kind of speak to what we're doing. A lot of this has to do with the findings at the state level. So Val, I'm going to turn this over to you and talk a little bit about this. Okay?
Perfect. It believe it or not is something that we sign every year. And so, but this is the first year that they've asked that it be board approved. Normally it was something that I signed when I turned in the grant. This does a couple of things for us. They have just opened the grant. And so after we sign these assurances saying that we are going to follow the essentially the laws and their policies and statutes, that we can spend money as of this assurance date, not necessarily when the grant is officially funded. Because normally it's approved, August, September, but it'll allow us to spend as of July 1st. Not anything new as far as how it's written. It's just been a new thing that they've had. Where it's approved.
So,
And Val, you said you do this every year, right?
Yes.
This is just broken.
Just me.
okay, yes, protocol, but as I explained to you, Dave, there's a real big hesitation. She check marks it, I check mark it.
Mm-hmm.
There are several people that all we're trying to do here is being transparent with you as a board. So when you hear me talk about cables attached to federal grants, these are some of the cables. These are the federal rules. We can't change them, we can't tweak them, we can't but what we are assuring all of our stakeholders in the federal government is these are the assurances that we will abide by with the funds that are being given to us. And so when we say this, there's an approval process. So especially with Val and her team. So when we spend money, they have to go what I call a pre-audit. So they have to get pre-approved, and these funds have to fall under that. So when people say, well, we used to do that. Well, Val's coming back saying no because it doesn't fall under IDA rules and assurances, which a lot of districts are finding out that these are rules that they should have been following in order to expend money. So she has to double check to make sure when somebody requests something in special ed, it falls under these assurances as we move forward. And then she has a friend at the state that does the same for her that says, no, that really doesn't fall under that. So these are just assurances that we're saying. So you as a board tonight are just recognizing the fact there are assurances for federal grants. She will check mark, put a check box, then she will send it to me. Then I will check box it and say it moves on. And then the state looks at it. And then they say yes or no. And then that's kind of the process. Okay.
So if we approve this, do we each sign this? Or how do we do this?
For this appropriation?
Yes.
Yes. Well, you each sign one document.
You will just sign the one, okay.
But this
is the
appropriations
budget.
is completely separate from what we're talking about now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yep.
All you're saying is you're recognizing that there are assurances, you recognize
Okay,
that
I
as a
got you.
board, and that's what you're voting on here tonight with a list signature line that says we presented assurances to you to understand those assurances.
All right, all those in favor, any other questions? Sorry, getting ahead of myself here. All those in favor of approving the WDE LEA assurances signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is approved. Okay, other business from the board. This week, Mr. Oskey has asked me, if you go through the evaluation, July is the month that we negotiate Mr. Oskey's contract. And he has asked me to inform the board that he would like for his contract to remain the same the following year. And he's the whole contract, and he's requesting no changes be made to his contract, including his salary. I see a smirky smile.
Seems there was a lot of inflation, a lot of prices have gone up lately. I'm not real comfortable with not making some kind of adjustment. I will defer to your request.
I'm not happy either. But I will go with Mr. Oskey's wishes. Any other comments?
So I appreciate that. I don't think my journey's over, and my recognition is by you allowing me to have a 2-year contract to continue my work with Johnson County. So that's where I'm at. I know classified staff, I know there are people, and doing my part, but I appreciate the comments here today. A lot of people are working hard. I don't want to violate a policy or a superintendent that says superintendent's contract negotiation takes place in July. We still have a budget to where we need to do. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to continue for 2 more years. So I appreciate your comments, but I'm grateful for the opportunity, and we'll make it work. So that's where it's at. And I think it's a last minute thing for the public to say, oh, all of a sudden we're doing a contract negotiation. You see where the budget's at. So I appreciate your words, but I am just grateful for the opportunity and the fact that you gave me 2 contracts.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Oskey. Now this doesn't mean we can't look at it again next week, correct? AI committee, Mr. Oskey?
All right, so the AI committee presented to you at the work session, and I would like to know who would be the 2 board members that would like to sit on an AI committee or cell phone committee potentially as we move forward. I don't want their time and efforts to be wasted, but I just want to reiterate, whatever the schools are doing, our job is at student handbook, whether cell phones, what we're doing with AI. I think they presented some common ground of where they're headed. I don't want to create policy just for creating policy. You need to have stakeholders, you need to have everybody involved. So we're going to do this fair, and we're going to talk about policy. The committee needs to make a recommendation to the policy committee. It needs to be reviewed, so there needs to be a process. So if there's anybody interested, Heidi can write them down. But is there anybody from this group that would be interested in sitting on and informational artificial intelligence committee, because this is not going away. As Dave said, it's going to be writing things for us in the future.
So how often are they gonna meet, Charles?
Not sure yet. I just need to get some people gathered and start having that conversation.
It's tricky, tricking us into this one.
Do we have anybody interested?
All right.
I would, yeah,
All right.
to whoever wants to. Yeah,
Do you want
think
2
at
or
least
3?
time-
I think 2 would be great.
You guys want?
You can do it. No, you probably have more time than I.
The minimum, but we just, okay. I'll
I
try.
don't know about that. Okay, so we have our 2 names.
Yeah, Lynette and Charles.
All right, cool.
Thank you, guys.
And we will also put you down when we get to it, when we have our reports, that you'll give us kind of a synopsis after every meeting, please.
If I can translate, I will.
Okay,
So I want to tell you, it's in the developmental stage, so don't expect something next month.
Gotcha.
That would be good.
and if you need to write up something, you know where to go again.
We got learn.
Okay, Mr. Oski from the
APQC
Yes.
leadership training, the 24th, just as a reminder, if you please let Heidi know by the end of the week whether you can attend. We'll determine where we take a vehicle from here. It will, location is going to be determined. It was supposed to be in at Sheridan One's central office, but I think that's going to change. And then all supervisors are scheduled for the 25th, and then the 26th they're on site here for a half day. So this is systems, efficiencies, doing some different things. It's a collaborative piece of 3 districts, Sheridan 1, Sheridan 3, and Johnson County. So,
And so when would you like us to go?
so the 24th, it's 5:30 to 7:30, and if I did my calendar invite correct this time, you should have got a calendar invite. I promise not to change it.
See if I got it linked right.
Anyway, if you just let Heidi know. Those of you that want to drive over, that would be super great. I might drive myself over if it's limited, and then I can just go home from there and instead of coming back here. But just a food for thought, so we can get
Okay.
and if you're around on the 26th in the morning, would like just to stop in, listen, you're more than welcome. But that's the day they will.
What's the
8
date of
o'clock.
noon?
So yours on the 24th, I think, is 5:30 to 7:30. The next day, we all go over there. It's 8 to 4, and then when they're here on site, it's 8 to 11:30.
Okay. So we'll let Heidi know as soon as you can.
I would also like you to mark your calendars for August 17th. That is a kickoff at Buffalo High School. We have a guest speaker coming in, a presenter based on culture and some different things. With that, we have some other trainings, but that individual will also Pounding the Stone and some other books. So I think it's going to be a great kickoff with this presenter. He's going to work with admin. He's going to work with student athletes. He's going to work with coaches. And then we're also going to have him do a community presentation that evening. So the August 17th is a pretty big deal. If you please mark your calendars. So morning is going to be 8 to noon. Afternoon or community presentation, I think, is 5:30 to 6:30. We're still working out some of those details. And like always, as board members, professional development is that Thursday, Friday, and Monday. If you're around and just want to stop in and see what's happening in the building, you are more than welcome.
So you're asking on the 17th for us to be there from 8 to 12?
I'm just marking your calendar. You can make, and just to let you know on the 17th. But the community event, they are presenting from 5:30 to 6:30. So it's just an event. And then I think the float is going to move forward. We'll talk with Heidi tomorrow. We'll get some applications get that out and get some things going. But if any of you as board members would like to walk or figure out how we're going to throw candy or ride on something on August 5th, intention right now is to definitely have a bus and maybe a flatbed, and maybe try to correlate that with the band that marches down the street, but have a little more presence as a school district in as the World's Fair parade in Johnson County on Saturday morning. Okay.
Anything else? The August work session. Give me the date.
The 9th.
9th, and again, those are open. We welcome any and all people, hosts, stakeholders. We'd love to have you here. Again, the only thing we do not do is public comment. We do not vote on any action at that time. It's very informative. I've gotten a lot out of it in the last few months, and I appreciate it. August board meeting will be the 14th. And I would like to thank the board for, how many meetings did we have last month? 4? We had quite a few, and they were very, very long meetings, and I appreciate you all and all your hard work. And also, Connie, did you have something you want to say?
Yes.
And I almost dropped the gavel, man. You're lucky.
So I don't know Robert's rules of order very well, but you have to read this resolution. And I apologize, I completely forgot it. I got it finished and just put it to the side and so I don't know how to go back to that. Somebody
To do what?
We have to read this into the.
And I think it's gotta be the public budget hearing, so we're gonna have to reopen our public budget hearing
Okay.
and then read it and then re-close it, right?
Okay.
Are you buying all that?
Yep.
All right,
We have a motion to re-enter the public budget hearing.
so move.
And a second, please.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's probably no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. So now we are going to read the budget appropriation and levy resolution. Is that what we have to do? When I get down to the appropriations, do I read the funding as well?
Probably, yes.
All right, here we go. Whereas on the 10th day of July, 2023, the budget officer filed with the Board of Trustees of Johnson County School District 1 a budget message for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. And whereas a summary of each budget was entered into the board members, a notice of a public hearing on such budget together with said summary was published in the Buffalo Bulletin, a newspaper having a weekly circulation in the county in which the district is located, on the 6th day of July, posted in 3 conspicuous places. Whereas a public hearing was held concerning such budget on July 10, 2023 at 7 p.m., at which time all interested parties were given an opportunity to be heard. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Johnson County School District 1 that such budget, as revised, if applicable, is hereby adopted and subject to future amendment. It is in effect for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. What's that?
2024, sorry.
Okay,
Strike
excuse
over.
me, strike that. 2020. I was wondering that. I was like, isn't that already over? Okay, 2024. Further resolved that the following appropriations are made as of and for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, correct? 2024, and that those respective expenditures applicable to each department and fund shall be limited to the amounts hereby appropriated, subject to further amendments. Appropriations: 01, the general fund, $24,097,270. 20, special revenue, $8,414,133. 21, major maintenance, $4,283,534. 22, BOCES, $250,000. 30, capital projects, $500,000. 31, special purpose, $500,000. 40, Debit service, $17,850. 50, nutrition services, $804,300. 51, teach-reach, $100,000. 52, tiny house, 0. 60, internal services, $500,000. Total appropriations, $39,467,087. Be it further resolved that after deducting all available cash and estimated revenues, the following amounts must be raised through general taxation, and that such levies as are required to provide such amounts are hereby authorized as of and for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. County and local resources, $17,527,494. Additional mills to be levied. Johnson County Recreation District, 1 mill, which is $510,857. Johnson County Bochis, half a mill, which is $255,429, for a total of $766,286. This will be dated the 10th day of July, 2023. Do we have to come out again and into regular board? Do I ask for any questions?
To approve now?
No. Do we have to then go back through and approve the budget?
No, you approved it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just ready.
Just read into the minutes, I understand.
We each sign I'm gonna bring you a new one with the corrected things on.
Oh. May I have a motion to enter back into our regular board session?
Second.
Okay, I have a so moved, and I have a second. Did you get Heidi? Yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we have anything, other business that we need to attend to? Okay. So at this time, I would like to, what's that?
Are we going to?
Oh, excuse me. No, I don't think we do. Do we have an executive session? Oh, we do? I'm sorry. My fault. Yes. We'll take do we go into executive session first? May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are in. Take a break. Things have changed.
That's an 8 o'clock this morning.
Correct. So did you get that notice?
Oh, what did I say?
Yeah, you said.
Oh, fiscal. Fiscal.
Take that on the board, Bert.
Well, I was just glad I said that. I wasn't too. I had all the, I don't remember.
That's the volleyball announcer. We're proud of you. Tell us.